Right, we're back live tonight on In Focus. The African Christian Democratic Party wants to join the multi-party opposition coalition pact ahead of the 2024 elections. The coalition says the announcement is well received and takes place within a context of conversations with other political parties and civil society groups to unseat the ANC. The ACDP Deputy President, Wayne Thring, joins us now for more on this. Good to have you, and thank you very much for coming on this evening. Why did you initially not join the establishment of then called the Moonshot Pact, of course later becoming the MultiParty Charter?
I think there were a number of reasons why the ACDP had reservations about joining what was then the Moonshot Pact. Firstly, it was an announcement that was made by the DA leader without consultation of other political parties. Secondly, it was an announcement that was made at the DA's conference, and again, also without consultation. And then thirdly, I think one of the announcements that was made by the leader of the DA was that one of the political parties was public enemy number one. Our leader, the Reverend Dr. Kenneth Meshwe, approached the leader of the DA and said that the ACDP does not have any enemies. So those were some of our reservations and some of our concerns. But I think it must be also noted that despite those reservations and concerns, that the ACDP has been a part of the discussions building up to the multi-party charter. We were there as observers, looking keenly at where it was going, but also expressed our reservations at the beginning.
Yeah. I'm sure you're well familiar with the scripture verse that says, if the foundations are destroyed, what can the righteous do? I mean, if the foundations were that shaky, what is a hope of a different approach when the actual time comes for the coalition to work together?
Well, the ACDP never said that the foundations were shaky. What the ACDP did say that it had some reservations in terms of comments that were made. And we wanted to ensure that those were addressed. And so we believe that they have been addressed. Our president, Reverend Dr. Kenneth Meshwe, addressed the leader of the DA and said that the ACDP does not have enemies. We differ in terms of our political outlooks. We differ in terms of our political worldviews. But we do not have any enemies. So that was taken well by the leader of the DA. And we were able then to enter into some discussions. I think it must be remembered that the ACDP also has been a part of, in fact, was one of the first political parties to be a part of what was then cooperative governance, what we called cooperative governance, which started down in the Western Cape. We were one of the first political parties that had meaningful contributions and made perhaps some of the most contributions to the drafting of the first cooperative governance documents or coalition documents, which were used predominantly in the Western Cape. So the ACDP are not newbies or newcomers to this particular matter, but have been involved almost for many decades.
Except for the objective of unseating the ANC, both provincially and nationally, what other idea or ideology do you have in common with the multi-party pact? What's the give and take? What are you getting as the ACDP in this?
Look, I think that there are numerous commonalities that the different political parties have. Number one is dealing with the issue of corruption. Nobody in South Africa can say that there is no corruption currently within the ruling party and within the governing structures. You look at national government, provincial government, and way down to our local government, where over 100 municipalities of the 200 odd municipalities are no longer going concerns and on the verge of bankruptcy, according to the Auditor General. So very clearly, corruption is one of the key issues that we would like to tackle. Secondly, you look at infrastructure. The infrastructure is certainly crumbling, and that has to be a core focus as well. Thirdly, if you look at the economy, our economy with regards to debt to GDP, debt to GDP continues to climb. We're looking at 73% debt to GDP. And if we continue in this particular direction, we are going to be going off the fiscal cliff with our children and our grandchildren having to carry the debt that the current ruling party has incurred on behalf of the nation. So those are just three of the issues. And we can talk about crime, we can talk about healthcare, we can talk about education, where some 81% of our grade 4s are not able to read with meaning, even in their own mother tongue. And so there are certainly numerous commonalities that we all, as opposition parties, have challenges with. But I think you also need to understand that the ACDP, as I said, is no newcomer. We are currently the sixth largest political party at a national level. We have been in government and have been a part of government since 1994, one of the few political parties that has held seats, that is continuously from 1994 to date. We have structures throughout the provinces, in all 9 provinces. We have seats also at a provincial level as well as local government level. So the ACDP is no newcomer to politics. And obviously, we bring our own flair. We have our own worldview, and within the multi-party charter, the flair that the ACDP brings is not going to be frowned upon.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the things which is possibly one of the positives is that within the multi-party charter, there are a number of political parties that actually cover a number of spheres which bring in more people into a group, which speaks to inclusivity rather than people feeling that they've been excluded, particularly by the ruling party.
You don't feel that your involvement would, one, weaken the opposition's influence, two, your association makes, for example, the voting choices unclear for people, for example, who believe in the values of the ACDP, to see it in a coalition with
under their own banners.
Right.
I think each political party is going to contest the election under their own manifestos, on their own strength and under their own banners.
Absolutely.
And will do so as if contesting election where there was no coalition.
Yes.
But also remember that the ACDP's position is, and has continued to be, that we will not form a coalition prior to an election. That position still holds. This is not a coalition. What this is, it's pre-talks. It is looking at systems, it's looking at mechanisms, it's looking at structures to ensure that if there is going to be a coalition after the 2024 elections, what would that kind of look like? And so at least there would be some kind of base, some kind of template from which to build and from which to work. So there is no coalition currently, but rather an agreement looking towards, or rather a mechanism in terms of putting in place rules, procedures towards a possible coalition post-2024 elections.
Yeah. So do those rules articulate clearly, for example, what are the compromise positions, right? When it comes to certain policy issues around, let's talk about the policy that they wanted to pass, which I know the ACDP was against, in terms of sexual education in schools.
Well, sure. Look, the ACDP is not going to compromise on its policy positions. The ACDP will not compromise on its the policies, the values, the norms, and the issues that it has been raising over the years. Very clearly, I think that members of the ACDP can rest assured. Members of South Africa can rest assured that if there's one thing that we will not back down on, that is our policy position. But the area of compromise, or the rules that we've been talking about, for example, within the multi-party charter, and we were not there because we were not invited. We attended the pre-talks as observers, and the leaders took the decision not to invite those who were observers. So we weren't there. We wouldn't gate crash a meeting. But I think very clearly the ACDP and the different members within the multi-party charter are aware of the ACDP's positions and the ACDP's policy positions. We clash at a national level when it comes to some of those policy positions, and we will continue to remain steadfast with regards to our policy position. So I think it's very clear that for the ACDP, there will be no compromise with regards to our policy positions, whether that be policy positions on sexual education, policy on the same-sex marriage, issues of the Bela Bill that we've been tackling, some of the moral positions that the ACDP holds. This defines who we are as the ACDP. And when the ACDP begins to move away from those particular positions, then I think it lessens who we are, and that's not where the ACDP is going to be going.
So are you saying then on those positions you would be willing to pull out of that multi-party charter if they are in conflict with those positions?
Well, very clearly, where there are conflicts, I think that the ACDP will not want to be in a conflicted position where we have a situation where our policies that govern who we are, that determine who we are, that makes a decision in terms of the trajectory that the ACDP takes, and where that goes against essentially who the ACDP is and what the ACDP is about, the ACDP will certainly consider where that is not taken into consideration if there is to be a coalition post-2024. Please also note that all of this is presumption. Nobody knows exactly what 2024 is going to look like, and so what we're speaking is possibilities.
Yeah.
But if that is the possibility that faces the ACDP, very clearly our leadership will come in, we will discuss our position, and if necessary, like other political parties within the multi-party charter, they too would have the ability to withdraw should there be, I believe, a clash within their political interests.
Appreciate your time.
Their political interests.
Thanks so much for coming on. Wayne Thring, ACDP Deputy President, there on their talks, as he puts it now.